Mayuk, where are rest of the people? Mayuk, can you hear me? Devanjan, where are rest of the students? Can you hear me, Devanjan?
Yes, sir. Sir, wait for some time. I think they will join soon.
Did you have any class before this, or?
No, no, it was the first class for today.
Okay, so do you have a class WhatsApp group?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So just write in that WhatsApp group.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so have you written?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've written.
Okay, let me start then. Whenever they join, they will see from that slide. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so can you see the slide?
Yes, sir. I can see the slide.
Okay. So on the on the previous day, what we did was we studied till the strings. Okay, so string modification. Okay, so and we saw that how can we saw the basics of Python. How can we install Python in Windows and in Linux? Right? We saw the basics of how what a variable is, how many types of variables are there, these kind of things, and we started seeing what is why do we use strings in the case of Python. Okay, and we already did some some features of string, and we did till how do we replace strings and everything. Okay, so after this we will continue from where we left off the previous day. So again, whenever we are talking about string, there is a split method as well. Okay. Now, what is the function of the split method? Let us understand. Uh, okay. So I am using Windows now. Okay. So previous day I was using Linux, but this time I'm using Windows. So obviously, whenever we are using Windows, we said that we can obviously run Python from the command prompt. Okay. So I guess the command prompt is visible to you. So again, if you remember that in the case of Linux, what happened is we said that There are two versions of Python installed. One is Python version 2 and one is Python version 3. But in the case of Windows, we said that whenever since Python does not come pre-installed with Windows, so whenever we will install Python in Windows, either we will install Python 2 or we will install Python 3. So obviously, whatever we install, and if I want to call that, so obviously in my laptop, suppose I've installed Python 3, so which means I do not have Python 2, which means to call Python in my laptop from the command prompt, I will not have to write Python 2 or Python 3, because only Python 3 is installed and that is the default version. So if I write Python only and if I write version like this, so again you can see that in my laptop the version of Python that is installed is actually what? Python 3.8.5, right? So okay, so obviously how can we write Python or how can we interact with Python? We will just write Python, we will press enter, and this interactive Python shell will open. Okay. Now, as we were discussing that we can use a split method to split strings. Okay. Now let us see an example of this. So suppose I have a string called as s, and I am writing hello, comma, world, like this. Okay. So if I print the value of s, it will be what? Hello world. Okay. Now suppose if I want to split this string with respect to the comma, so we can see that after hello there is a comma, then there is a space, and then there is a world, and so on. So if I want to split this string into two parts with respect to what? A comma. So what we can do? We can write print s dot split. So we will split s, and how do we split it? Or with respect to what? With respect to what? A comma. So if I write this, right? So now what will be printed? Our list will be printed. A list will be printed which will have two values, right? So just if I press enter on this, you can see that there is a list, and in this list there are two values. The one is hello and one is world. But you can see no comma, right? So after hello there was a comma, but in this case after hello there is no comma, if you can see that. Okay, so which means with the help of comma, I have done what? I have just splitted the string into two parts. So this is known as what? Splitting of a string. So this is done by the split method that we have in the case of strings and in Python. Okay, okay. Again, I can also concatenate two strings. Now, what do we mean by concatenate? Concatenate means nothing but joining two strings. Okay. Now we can concatenate two strings using the plus sign. Okay. So suppose again if I have, so suppose I have these two strings. Okay. So suppose if I have s1 equal to, and if I copy this and if I paste it here like this. Okay. And again suppose if I have s2, so s2 is equal to, and suppose again I copy this like this. Okay. So again if I print s1 plus s2, so you can see that we can concatenate two strings using what? The plus sign. Okay. I hope I'm clear till this. Okay. Next, so we have various types of operators in the case of Python. What are the operators that we can have? We can have the arithmetic operator, we can have the assignment operator, we can have the comparison operator, as well as we can have the logical operators. Now let us see what are the types of these operators one by one. So obviously in the case of arithmetic operators, we can have what? We can have addition, we can have subtraction, we can have multiplication, we can have division, right? So these four are the normal ones. Okay, special ones include what? The modulus. So obviously for modulus, we will use the percentage. Now what does a modular do? Modulus do? It will just show us the remainder. Okay, which means if for example I take that a is equal to 10, sorry, a is equal to 10 and b is equal to, for example, 3, and if I print a modulus of b, so obviously what will be printed? The remainder will be printed. Okay. Again, we have something called as what? A double asterisk. Now, what is double asterisk? Double asterisk means nothing but the power sign. So again, if I print a to the power b, which means 10 to the power 3, obviously it will print what? 1000. Okay, so that is nothing but the power side. Okay, again we have something called as a float division. Now that is denoted by what? A double slash. Now what's the float division? Let us understand. So again, if I write print A by B, so this is 3.33, right? So we are seeing everything that is there in the calculation. But again, if I print like this, so we will see only the 3 and not the rest of the part. So that is nothing but the float division. Okay, so I guess you might have understood what's the difference between the float division and a normal division and a modulus. Okay. Okay. Okay,
Sir,
next.
can't we do typecasting as we can do in C or Java in Python? So
Yes, yes, you can.
so basically, I was saying that, sir, A by B is giving 3.3333 something like that, and if we cast it
So
to
you are
float,
saying if I write C is equal to A by B,
and
okay,
then
and if I
n-
print C, it will be this. And if I print,
float of
yes, if I print int of C like this, so you're saying this.
yes, sir. So these two are giving same
Yes, you can
operation,
do that.
same.
You can do that. But that is a two-step process. But float division is a one-step process. That's the thing,
Okay, sir.
right? Okay. So these are various things that you can do. So obviously, whenever you are doing programming, if I give you a certain problem, there may be 10 ways to approach that problem. So that is the thing. Okay. Okay. Next, we have the assignment operators like this. Okay. So again, we can see that, and we have used equal to many times, which means whenever we are assigning some values to a variable, we can obviously use what? Equal to sign. Again, there is something called the plus equal to. Now, what is plus equal to? Plus equal to is nothing but, so if I write a is equal to a plus 1, and if I print the value of a, it will be 11, right? But if I write a plus equal to 1, so again it will be the same thing. So now if I print a, it will be 12. Okay, so plus equal to actually means what? A is equal to a plus, right? Okay, so similarly we can have minus equal to, we can have multiplication equal to, we can have division equal to, as well as we can have what? Percentage, but that is modulus equal to. Then we can have float division equal to, as well as we can have what? Power equal to. So all these will just do the same thing like this, but just the operator or the arithmetic operator will be different. Okay. Okay. Next is something called as a comparison operator. Now, obviously, we understand so that whenever we are writing if statements, for example, so obviously we need some condition to run a for loop, for example, or to run a while loop, or to run a if statement. We need some condition. Okay. So whenever we want to write conditions, we will use this kind of operator. So this is what equal to. So if I want to say that is a equal to b, so obviously I will write a double equal to b. So that is the condition. Okay. So again, this is not equal to. Okay, this is greater than, this is less than, this is what? Greater than equal to, and this is what? Less than equal to. So these are the comparison operators that we can use in the case of Python. So these are generally same as that in the case of C, C++, and Java. Okay. Lastly, we have the logical operators. Now, what are these logical operators? So obviously we understand what is AND. So if suppose, for example, I have the value of a as 12, and if I have the value of b as 3, so again I can write if a greater than 10 and b less than 5. So if this is true, so I can write what? Print true like this. So you can see that the value is true. Okay. Now this is for and when do we use and is used whenever we are having we want that both conditions should be satisfied. Now again we can use or as well, in which I want that only one condition, if it satisfies, then the condition will be executed, right? So again we have a not, which means not satisfied, right? So these are the things that we can use in the case of Python. Okay. Next, we will come to a very important topic called as lists. Now, whenever we are studying Python, two topics will be very important and very lengthy. Lengthy in the sense that you will have to remember many things, because there are many things to understand, many things to remember. So these two things are known as actually what? Lists, and whenever we will do the object-oriented programming part. Okay. So let us start with lists first. Today we will try and cover list if the time permits. Otherwise, we will complete it in the next class. Okay. So again, lists are actually used to store multiple items in a single variable. Okay. So obviously, if I compare this to arrays in the case of C, so generally a list in Python is very much synonymous to a array in C. Okay. So obviously, array is obviously used to store multiple items in a single variable. Similarly, in the case of Python, lists are actually also used to store multiple items in a single variable. Okay. Again, lists are one of the four inbuilt data types in Python, the other three being a tuple, set, and dictionary. Now, what are tuples, what are set, what are dictionaries, we will see in the later half of the session whenever we will have it. Again, as in the case of array, lists are also created using what? Square brackets. And the main USP of a list, and as I'm saying that it is very much synonymous with arrays, it is that what the locations, the memory locations, or the elements of a list are actually stored in what? Contiguous memory locations, right? So whenever we are saying contiguous memory locations, which means we can obviously use the indexing concept in the case of lists as well. So if I have a list called as A, and if I have A0 is equal to something, and obviously to access the next element, I will have to use what? A of 1. Again, to access the next element, I will have to use what? A of 2. So obviously, lists, as in the case with arrays, are actually contiguous in the memory locations are contiguous in nature. Okay, but the main difference between a list in Python and array in C is that in the case of arrays, array is obviously homogeneous in nature, which means if I have an integer array, so I can store integer values only in that array. If I have a character array, so I can store character values only. If I have a float array, I can store float elements only. But in the case of lists in Python, what is the USP? That USP is actually what? It is actually heterogeneous in nature, which means if I want to store integers, not characters, strings, floating point numbers, boolean variables in the same variable, so I can do that using what? A list in the case of Python. Okay. So again, as we discussed earlier, so whenever we create a list, so either we can declare a list. So if I declare the variable this list, and if I want to declare this as a list, so I will just write equal to what? A square bracket, empty square bracket, which means we are actually declaring that this list variable is a list. Okay. And again, if I want to initialize values into the list, so I can do it like this. So which means I will first give the name of the list, the variable, and I will write equal to, I will use a square bracket and using commas. And since we are storing strings here, so obviously we will use double quotations. So double quotes, and we are actually storing what? Strings. And obviously every element will be separated with the help of what? A comma sign, right? Okay. So again, if I just show this, so if I have a list, so if I have the name as L1, or suppose if I have the name as this list, so this will, sorry, okay, just a second. Okay, see, if I have the name as this list, and if I want to declare this as a list, so I will just write a empty square bracket and I will press enter. So again, if I print the data type of this list, if I press enter, you can see that it is nothing but a list. Okay. Now again, if I want to initialize variables, so what I can do, I will write this list. I will again use a square bracket, and here we have used what? Strings. So I will write apple, for example, and obviously all the elements are separated with the help of what? A comma. So I will again write a comma. I will write what? Banana. Okay. And what was the next one? It was cherry. Okay. So suppose again it's a string, so I will write cherry like this. Okay. And again, if I print this list, so obviously I will get the elements of that are stored in this list. So you can see that there are three elements, all of them are strings. They are separated using what? Commas, and they are actually what? Apple, banana, and cherry. Okay. Okay. So again, list items are what? They are ordered. Now what is ordered? So obviously, as I said before, that the memory locations are what? Continuous in nature, right? So if I am accessing this list 0, So if I want to access the first element, I will write this list of 0, right? Again, if I want to access the next element, I will write this list of 1, and so on. Also, order also can mean that that, for example, in a list I am storing values in the form of, suppose first I'm storing 1, then I'm storing 5, then I'm storing 2, and then I'm storing 7. So obviously what happens is the sorry, the order in which I'm storing values into the list, the order will be maintained. So it will not happen that the list will be sorted by itself. So the order in which I'm sending data to the list, the order in which it will be stored in memory locations, continuous memory locations, will be maintained. Okay, so this is the meaning of nothing but ordered. Okay, next it is changeable. Now, if you remember, there are two concepts in Python. The first one is known as mutable, and second one is known as immutable. Okay, so strings in the previous case that we have studied is strings are generally immutable, which means they cannot be changed. Okay, let us see an example that how strings cannot be changed. So suppose I have a string and I'm writing hello, right? So I have a method in string called as replace, right? So if I want that, I will replace the capital H with, suppose, capital K, right? And if I press enter, you can see that capital H has been replaced with capital K. But has it actually been replaced? Let us understand. So again, if I print the value of S, so it means that since I've replaced H with K, and now if I print S, it should be Kelo. So capital S should be replaced with K. But now if I print S and if I press enter, you can see that it is what? Hello. It has not changed. Which means whenever I'm replacing some element with some other element using the replace method, it means the actual string is not changed. What is changed? A copy of the actual string is being made, and a change in the copy is made, and then it is printed. But the actual string is not changed, which means the string is actually, it cannot be changed, or we can say that it is actually immutable in nature, right? But in the case of a list is actually mutable in nature, which means it can be changed. Which means if I write, suppose I have this list, right? So this is the value of this list. And suppose if I write that this list of, this list of 0. So 0 is actually what? It's apple. But I want to say that, okay, this list is 0, now should be mango. Okay. But now if I print this list, since it is mutable, you can see the actual value has changed from apple to mango, which means a string is actually mutable in nature, or it can be changed. Okay. Okay. Next one is what? It
Sir,
allows.
sir, you did s dot replace.
Yes.
S dot replace. Sir, can't we assign the new value to s? That means I want to say that s equal to s dot replace h comma k.
S equal to S dot replace. Okay, let us see what happens. So this is S, right? So S equal to, yes, we can do that.
So
Okay.
then the
So
value
okay,
should
just
be.
let me check. Let me check whether we can do that. Okay. So if I write S equal to S dot replace H with K, right? Okay. Now if I print S, okay. So what does this mean? A list, what I'm saying is a string, element of a string cannot be changed. The whole string can be changed, which means if I write, suppose S equal to hello, if I write S equal to hello, right? And if I print S, it is hello. But now if I write S equal to, for example, this, right? And now if I print S, sorry, which means we are actually changing the whole string, but we cannot change an individual element of a string, which means I cannot say, since I can access a string like this, I cannot say S of 0 is equal to H. Understood? Am I clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, and last is what it allows for duplicate values, which means if I have this list like this, so I can write uh, so there's a method called as append. We will study that later in details. So but in this case we can write this list dot append. Just a second. Okay, so we can write this list dot append, and we can write mango again. And now if I print this list, you can say that a mango has been appended to the end, but again a list allows for duplicate values. A string also allows for duplicate values, but similarly list also allows for what? Duplicate values. Okay. And lastly, we can obviously use the len function. So len function was not only local to the string thing. It is not local to a length, local to a list. It is not local to dictionary, which means len is actually a universal string method, and we can use it for everything. So again, if I want to print the length of this list, so again we can do that. Okay. Okay. Next is, as I said earlier, the list can be of any data type. So which means I can have a, for example, this list is a string list, this list is a integer list, this list is what? A Boolean list, and so on, right? So any variable, type of variable can be assigned to a list. Secondly, a list can contain what? Different data types. So this is also what we have discussed earlier, which means in this case you can see that list one in this case will have a string, will have an integer, will have a Boolean value, will again have an integer, and will again have a string. So this is actually heterogeneous in nature and not homogeneous in nature, as in the case with arrays in the case of C, right? Okay. There is another method as well by which we can create list, and that is the list method. Okay. Now what is the list method? How can we do that? So again, let us see. So I can write this list equal to, so this is the keyword, okay, and I will give double brackets like this, and again I can write what? I can write apple, I can write mango, I can write cherry, and so again if I print this list, sorry, if I print this list, so again you can see that we can initialize a list like this as well. Okay. Okay. So again, to access any item of a list, so obviously, also we have discussed this earlier, that we can use the concept of indexes. So if I want to access the first element, that is actually the second element, we can use the index concept in the case of list. Why? Because it is ordered in nature, right? Okay. Again, since it is ordered, which means there can be a concept of indexing. So obviously we can have negative indexing as well. So if you remember, what is the function of -1 in indexing? If anyone of you can tell me.
The last item of the list.
Last item of the list. So again, if I print this list of -1, the output will be what? Cherry. Okay. Okay. Again, obviously, as in the case with strings, it can use slicing as well, right? So again, if I want to print from 2 to 5, so in this case there is not no 2 to 5. Suppose I can print from this list, and I can print from 1 to 2, right? So 1 to 2 means what? So actually we're starting from the first element, which means starting from the element that is at index 1, and we will just stop before the index 2. Okay. If I write 1 2 3, it means I will print index 1 as well as I will print index 2, and I will stop before index 3. So again, if I write this, it can be this. Okay. Again, I can say that we can start. So we can write that if I want to print elements from 1 to something else, I mean to the end. Okay. Now first and foremost, we need to understand what are the arguments in these brackets. Okay. So there can be 3 arguments. Okay. So the first one is the starting index, the second one is the ending index, and there can be a third argument as well, that will be the step count. Okay. Now what's the step count? Step count means, for example, in the case of C, if I have a for loop, so I can write for I equal to 0, we can have a semicolon, I less than equal to 10, We can have a semicolon and we will write I plus plus. Now, what is I plus plus? It means, anyone? Anyone? What does I plus plus mean?
Incrementing the value of I.
With 1. Every time we
One.
will increment the
Obviously,
value
yes.
of I with 1. But if I write I plus plus, if I don't write I plus plus, I write I plus 2, what will happen?
That will increment by 2.
Exactly. So that is the step count. Okay. So again, the third argument in the whenever we are writing slicing, it is actually what? The step count. So if I write 1 here, which means it will print 1 and 2. If I write 2 here, it means it will print 1 and then it will skip 2 and it will just go to 3 and so on. Okay. If I want to print the list in opposite direction, so I will write -1. Okay. So let us see whether we can print it in opposite direction or not. Okay. So which means, so I will have a, square bracket, and what's the starting index? So I will not give any starting index because we want to print the whole list. Okay. So again, there will be no ending index as well, again, because we will print the whole list. Now, what will be the step count? I can write -1. Now, what will it do? It will just print the list in opposite order. Okay. I hope I'm clear with this. Okay. Is it clear? If anyone of you can tell me.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now again, there's a special keyword in the case of list that is called as in. Okay. So just to see the usage of in, let us see an example. So again, we have a list like this, right? And suppose I want to say that for I in uh, this list. Okay. So what I will write, if if suppose there is I want to print the elements that have a that have the letter a in it. Okay. So what I can write is, I can write if a, so a is a character here. So if a in for example I, right? Okay, let us take a different example. This example will not be very much useful. Okay. Okay. So let us see this example. What is there? Okay. So here, what we have done, we have said that if apple is in the keywords, right, or in the elements, then we will print what? That there is apple. Okay. So what we can write is, if for example apple, I can write equal to I. Now, what does this mean? It means that I'm checking that is the value of I. What is I? I is the iterator that will iterate through every element of a list. Okay. Now, in the list, what are there? There are apple, mango, and cherry, right? So again, I want to see that whether any operator, or sorry, any the iterator is equal to apple or not. And if it is equal, what I will do? I will write print apple is there. Okay. And if I just press enter, you can see that apple is there. Okay. So again, which means to find whether apple is there or not in that list, we have to write 3 lines of code. Okay. But with the help of a in keyword, what we can do is, I can just write if apple in this list. That's it. What I will do, I will print apple is there. Okay. So I hope it is clear that how can we use the in keyword in the case of a list. Okay. Okay. So with this, we come to the end of the slide for the first day. The slide I created for the first day, we could not complete it because due to the lack of time. Okay. So what I will do is, I will just close this slide. Okay. And I will start with the next slide that was done for the day 2. Okay. Okay. So again, and to continue from lists, just a second. Let me full screen this. Okay. So again, to change the value of a specific item, I refer to the index number. So again, we have discussed this as well, that if I want to change the value of a specific item, so in this case, I want to change the value of the element that is at the first index. So we can directly write it like this. And again, if I print this list, it will actually print what? Apple, blackcurrant, and then cherry. Okay. So we have done this. So we have just seen this. So again, if I print this list like this, and again, if I want to change the value of the first element at the first index, so I can write this list of 1 is equal to what? Black current. What's the spelling of black current? Okay, black current, right? And again, if I print this list, so we can see that the element at index 1 has been replaced with what? Black. So we have seen this example previously as well. Okay. Next is to change. Also, we can change what? The range of item. Okay. Now, how we can do that? We can do it like this. So again, if I have this list, okay, and what I want to do is, suppose I want to say that this list of from 1 to 3, which means I'm pointing at element at index 1 and element at index 2. So what I can write is, I can write it like this. Okay. So I can write it like this. So suppose I want to say that it will be actually what? Mango and banana. Okay. So again, if I print this list, so we can see that both the items have been changed. Okay. So which means we can change items using a range as well. Okay. Also, it can happen that you want to replace 2 elements, and if you want to insert 3 elements, so that is possible. And again, it is possible that we want to replace 3 elements and actually insert what? 2 elements. So that is also possible using this range concept. Okay. Again, to insert a new list item without replacing any existing value, we can use what? The insert method. Now, what's the syntax of the insert method? Let us understand. So I can write this list dot insert. Okay. And what's the syntax? The syntax is, first and foremost, we have to specify the index. Okay. So which means, suppose I want to add or insert element into index number 1. Okay. And what do I want to insert? Suppose I want to insert blackcurrant. Right? Which means now the output will be apple. So apple is the 0th index. At the first index, it will be blackcurrant, and then it will be followed by what? Mango and banana. Okay. So if I press enter, and if I again print this list, so again you can see that blackcurrant has been added at the first index, and the things that were already there in the list have not been replaced. They are also still there in the list. Okay. Okay. So again, to insert element at the specific index, we will use the insert method. So again, we can do it like this as well. Okay. Okay. To add elements, to add an item to the end of the list, we will use the append method. So obviously, we have seen the syntax of append. So obviously, in the case of insert, what happens? We can specify the index at where we want to insert elements, new elements. Okay. But with the case of append, what we can do? So if I write append, I will not specify the index, right? So which means it will obviously append at the end. Okay. Okay. With insert as well, we can do that. So again, with insert as well, okay, just a second. Just a second. See, if I write, for example, insert, let us see whether this works or not. This used to work in 2.7. See, if I just write, for example, kiwi, just a second. If I just write kiwi, okay, it does not work in Python 3. In Python 2.7, it used to work, which means if I do not give a index, it will just add elements at the end itself. Okay, so just in the case of append. So again, using append, what we can do? So if I write this list dot append, and if I want to append the element kiwi like this, so obviously what would have happened? The element kiwi would have been inserted at the end. So again, you can see that the kiwi has been actually inserted at the end. Okay. 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 Next is to append elements from another list, what we can do, we can use a method called as extend. Okay, so which means if I have another list called as, for example, this list 1, and suppose we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. There are 4 elements in the this list 1. Okay, so what I can do is okay, so I can write this list dot extend of what, this list 1. Okay, so what will it do? It will just take the values or take the elements of this list 1 and will just add them to this list. Okay, so if I just press enter like this, and now if I print this list, so again you can see just that the elements of this list 1 has been just taken and they have been appended toward to the end of this list. Okay, okay. Next is okay, so by the extend method, what we can do is we can not only just append lists, but we can append what, the other elements as well. That is, we can append tuples, we can append sets, as well as we can append dictionaries as well. Okay, so this extend method is actually very powerful, and we can do, and we can append whatever we want at the end of an existing list. Okay, okay. Next is we have a method called as remove. Okay, now what does remove do? Remove, we can just specify the element that we want to remove. Okay, so which means if I just want to say that this list dot remove, what I can do is I want to remove 1, for example. Okay, so if I remove 1, so again if I print this list, so you can see that 1 has been removed. Okay. So similarly, suppose let us remove 2 as well. Similarly, I will remove 3 as well, and I will remove 4 as well. And again, if I print this list, you can see that all the things that we actually extended from another list has been removed using the remove method. Okay. Again, there is another method called as what, pop. Now, what is actually pop? The syntax of pop is very simple, which means if I want to write this list and I want to pop the element that is at index 0, for example, so I will just write the index here. Okay, so again if I write this list, you can see that the first element, which means the 0th index, element at the 0th index has been popped out. Okay, and again if I do not give any index like this, what will happen? Let us see. So again you can see that, so if I do not give any syntax, the last element of the list will be actually popped out. Okay, okay. Right. Okay, then there is what, okay, this should have been upwards and this should have been downwards. Okay, so first and foremost we will see the clear method. Okay, now what is the clear method? We will see. So if I write this list dot clear, if I write it like this, and now if I print this list, so you can see that the elements of the list have been cleared by the clear method. Okay, lastly we have a del method. So what's the del method? So if I want to delete the whole thing, which means I do not want to empty the list, but I want to delete the list altogether, so I can write what, this list. Okay, and now if I want to print this list, you can see that there will be an error because a list called as this list is actually not defined, which means we have actually deleted this list from the memory itself. Okay, okay. All right. Again, I can use a loop to loop through a list, right? So what we can write, we can use a for loop. Okay, so again I will have to define the list again. So suppose I have this list, and again what did I have? I had banana, for example. I have mango. I have kiwi. I have, for example, what else? Blackcurrant. Okay, that will be enough, I guess. So again, if I print this list, we can say that we have these elements in the list. Okay. Now, what I can do is I can use a for loop to iterate through this list. Okay. So what I can do, I can write for example, I in this list. So what is I? So I in this list means actually what? I will actually iterate through all the elements in the list. Okay. So if I have this and I want to print I, So you can see that all the elements of I, whenever it iterates through all the elements, it will print it line by line. Okay, so you can see that this is the way by which we can iterate over a list using what, a for loop. Okay, again, there can be another thing by which we can do this. So for example, I can write for I, and there's a special keyword like range. Okay, now what is the range? What does the range keyword do? Let us understand. So if I write, for example, so for I in range, I write 10. Okay, so what will happen? Let us see. And if I print I, sorry, so you can see that it will start from the 0 and it will continue till what, 9, and whenever it reaches 10 it will just exit from the loop. Okay, so again what we can do, we can use the same concept in the case of lists as well. So what we can do, I can write for I in range. So what will be the number here? It will be the length of the list, right? I want that it should start from the 0 and it should continue till what, the length of the list. Okay, okay, so again what will I print here? What will I print? Anyone? What will I print here?
This list, this list, and
Okay.
this
So
list I.
yes. So I in this case will actually act as what, the index. Okay. So I can write this list of the index, right? So of I, and again you can see that it is printing the same thing. Okay. Okay. Again you can use a while loop as well. So how can we do that? Let us understand. So we can write, for example, let us initialize the iterable first. So I will write I equal to 0, right? And I will write while I less than what, the length of the list. So this list. So if this is true, what I will do, I will print I, and lastly what I will do, I will just increment the value of I. So I plus equal to 1, right? And again if I, okay, sorry, I have to print this list of I, sorry, very sorry, I equal to 0. So while I is less than the length, right? So what I will do, just a sec. Okay, so I will print this list of I. So since I is the, actually there it is acting as the index, right? Okay, and lastly what I will do, I will write I plus equal to 1, and again you can see that we can do the same thing using a while loop as well. Okay, okay, next is we have a list comprehension. We have something called the list comprehension. Now what is a list comprehension? Let us understand. So let us take an example like this. Okay, so for example you can see that without list comprehension, so if I want to write a code, so what is the code? Let us see. So suppose we have a list called as fruits, and there are specific elements in the case of fruits. So what are the elements? The elements are apple, banana, cherry, kiwi, and mango. Okay, now suppose we have declared another empty list called as new list. Okay, so what I will do is I will write for x, or for the iterable in the fruits. So which means iterable will start from apple, it will go to banana, it will go to cherry, it will go to kiwi, it will go to mango, and then it will come out of the loop. Okay, so for x in fruits, so if there is if there is a in the iterable, which means if there is a in apple, right, what it will do, it will just append this x, which means it will just append apple in the new list. Okay, again if there is a in banana, so yes, there is an a in banana, so what it will do is it will just take banana and will append it in the new list, right? Again, since there is no a in cherry, what it will do, it will just continue the loop, it will not append cherry in the new list. Again we have kiwi, so again it will not append kiwi in the new list. And lastly we have a mango, so again there is a in mango, so what it will do is it will just append, it will take mango and it will append in the new list. Okay, and now we can print the new list. So is this example clear? This is a very straightforward example. Anyone, if anyone can respond?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, okay.
Sir, now, sir, if we want to do something like that, that if it, what starts with A, that is the
Yes.
first letter is A, so then how we will do that?
In if in string there is a special function called a start with. So suppose if I take the same example, so I have this list. So we have fruit names, right? Suppose I have a new list like this, okay? And again, I can write for I in this list. So I will have to write if I dot. So there is a special function called as starts with, and here I can write what A. So if I starts with A, what I will do? I will write new list dot append of I, right? And now if I print new list, you can see what happened. Oh yes, because there is no apple in this list. So suppose in this list I append an apple, okay? So dot append apple, okay? And now if I run the same program, so which means, so for I in this list, what I will do, if I dot starts with A, so what I will do, new list of append of I, okay? Now if I print new list, you can see that we have apple here. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, okay. Now again, we can do this kind of things using what? Loops. Okay. Now with the help of least comprehension, what we can do, let us see. So we can write the whole thing in one line only. Okay. Let us see an example. Okay. So again, you can see that fruits is, this is the fruit list, and the new list we are writing something like this. Okay. So now let us understand. Let us understand how do we write this. So the first and foremost thing is that we will do is, just a second. Okay. So I will write, for example, new list. Okay, so I will have to first delete the new list. Okay, so what I can do is I can write new list. Okay, so let us understand how do we write this. So first and foremost, I will write the for loop. Okay, so I will write for I in this list. Okay, then I will write the condition. Okay, so if A in I, right? And lastly, what we will write? So if the condition is satisfied, what we will do? So what we will do, we will write at the front. So what I will do, I will just write I. Okay. So did you understand what I have written? Anyone? Anyone? If you can respond. Did you understand what did we write? No? It will be very helpful if you respond.
No, sir, did not understand.
Okay. So first let us run this. Let us see what happens. Okay. And if I print new list, so you can see that all the items that have the character A in it has been taken from this list, and they have been appended to what? New list. Okay. Now again, let us understand what is the syntax. So if I write new list equal to, since this is a list, so that is, it's a list comprehension. So obviously we will start with a square bracket. Okay. Now first what I will do, I will write the for loop, because obviously we need a loop to iterate over the list. Okay. So first I will write the for loop. So for I in this list, obviously you understand what is this. So we are taking a iterable called as I, and what will I do? I will iterate over all the elements of this list. Okay. Next is we have to write the condition, right? So what's the condition? The condition is if A, so if the character A is in I, what is I? I is all the elements of the list. So I is actually iterating over all the elements. So if the first element is banana, it will search that is the character A in banana. So obviously if the answer is yes, what we will do? We will just take the value of I, and I will just write it inside new list. Am I clear now? Am I clear now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So again, if I run this and if I print new list, so again you can see that this thing is satisfied. So you can see the syntax here. So what's the syntax? First and foremost, as we did, we will write the for loop. So for item in iterable, then we will write the condition. And if the condition satisfies, we will write the expression like this. Clear? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. 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 We can we can also just leave aside the condition part. So what I can do, I can just write that new list. Okay, let us delete new list first. Uh, like this. So again, I can write new list is equal to, what will I do? I will just iterate over the this list. So I will just write for I in this list. So what I will do, I will not take any condition. So whatever the value of I in this list is, what I will do, I will just take that value of I and I will put it inside what new list. So again, if I write this and if I see new list, so again, you can see all the elements, irrespective of any condition, is actually taken from this list and has been added to what new list. Okay, so we can do that as well. Okay, okay, it's already 5:57. Your class will end at 6. So if you have any problems till now, whatever we have studied today, you can ask. Anyone? Orunita, Devanjan, Moyuk, Shoykot, Sommo, any issues you have till now? There's a chat. What's the chat? No, sir. Okay. Okay. So what should we do? Should we continue or should we end the session now? Because it's already 5:57. So what should we do? It depends on you. You tell me. If we continue, we can. I guess we can have another slide. One more slide. So what should I do? Anyone? Answer would be very helpful. Anyone? No answer. Very good. Okay. Okay. So we can continue for one more slide. Okay. So let us see. Okay. So there is another inbuilt method in the case of list. So the name of the method is what? Sort. Okay. Now how do we use sort? So obviously, if this is the list, new list, and if I write new list dot sort like this, and now if I print this new list, so you can see that it has been sorted. Okay, right? So which means whenever we are using the sort method, by default it will sort in ascending order, right? So we can see this. So if you write this list, and if I write, for example, 6, 8, 1, 4, and 10, right? And again, if I sort this list dot sort, and if I print this list, you can see that it is actually sorting in the ascending order. Okay. If I want to sort in the descending order, what we will do? We will write this list dot sort, and we will use a special keyword called as reverse, like this, right? And we will just write that reverse is equal to true. Okay. And now if I print this list, you can see that it is sorting in the descending order. Okay. Clear till this? Any questions? Now if you can kindly answer if there is any question or not till this. Anyone?
No, sir. No,
Okay,
sir.
okay, okay. Okay, chalo, it's already 6. So what we will do is we will just stop this slide. Just a second. I will just stop sharing this. Okay. Acha, do you have the link to the Google Classroom? Do you have the link? Okay, so what I will do is I will just paste the link to the Google Classroom. Uh, this is the, just a second. So this is the link of the Google Classroom. right? And lastly, what I will do is I will just give you a Google form where you can give the attendance for today. Okay. So is it visible, the classroom link and the Google form? Anyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
It is
Okay.
with.
Okay. Okay. So then I will be in the meeting till 6:10. Go and fill up the form. Just go and just see what is there in the classroom. In the classroom, you will find the PPT for the day one, as well as you will find the PPT, live lecture video for day one. Today also after 8 p.m. or by in this 10 minutes, I will upload the video as well as I will upload the PPT as well. So just go and fill up the form. Check the classroom. I will be here till 6:05. If you have any problems, you can ask me the questions. If you don't have any problems, you can just leave the session if you want. Okay. Thank you so much for listening.